So I'm sitting here watching Full Dive, enjoying it as I always do. And then there comes a point where a boy wanders into a back alley door to make some money, right? Because no normal shop's going to want to hire him. And he gets offered a job that is pretty damn good, I have to say. I think they said it was something like 20,000 geld or gold coins, right? However much it was a month's work, but he would have made like 20,000 gold. And in this episode, if you're not getting scammed by some maid cafe faking it as an item shop, a smoke bomb's gonna run you, say, 20 of these coins, right? This man would have been able to eat for a year's time. I don't even know how wealthy that would have actually made him, but it was a good paying job. But you need money right now, so let's get something a bit simpler. And in comes a request from this perverted old man who pays people 100 of these coins to whip him, right? And my boy was just like, absolutely not. To be fair, to this old man's defense, that's a pretty well-paying job, because if we think about it, right, generally in any sort of fantasy or even our own world, right, a weapon is going to cost more than a sandwich, right? So basically, 5 smoke bombs is to whip this guy for an hour. That probably would have, fed him, been able to rent a room for, 3 days, maybe even a week? I imagine most likely he would have needed at least 20 to 30 a day in order to be able to rent a room and eat. But still, if we're kind of looking at it as a glass half full sort of situation, the offer was actually pretty good. At first I was like, wow, 100. So we go from a $20,000 request to 100. And honestly, the death mission for a month seems a lot more worth it. But when you actually think about it, given the fact that you could, if you weren't getting scammed, get 5 smoke bombs or probably a week's worth of meals for that, for an hour's work, honestly, not that bad if you kind of close your eyes and bear it, right? The show has no chill. It's absolutely just such an entertaining ride. I may not laugh out loud, but to the same degree of Cautious Hero, definitely moments that I laughed out loud, as there's been moments I've laughed out loud in Full Dive. But for the most part, I just find it to be really, really interesting. And I'm actually really invested in the game mechanics itself, because there's definitely an argument to be made how realistic should games be, and I've seen plenty of people in my comment sections bring up things that have annoyed them. I mean, I remember when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, right? There was that debate, how realistic should we go? And I almost was on the end of being like, this isn't fun, but eventually I got over that hurdle, right? So there's always that feeling, and I said it last week, after seeing the game manual, which just berates the shit out of you, it's such a piece of shit, but it at least shows you how you can complete it. There's an addiction factor there that you would want to try again as long as you're not going to get your arm severed and actually have to feel it. And I still feel that way after watching this episode. A lot of bad things do happen, but it is a type of challenge that actually has me craving wanting to attempt it. The whole idea that you have an entire city in a realistic fashion, anyone from an outsider looking at, holy shit, this man killed his best friend, how would he accidentally fall and stab himself, right? Doesn't make sense. Even if the city guard looks at it, investigates it, and is like, yeah, makes no sense. If you were actually going to kill him, you would use the sword in your room, which wasn't even drawn. Even a trained swordsman would have not been able to actually stab him the way you did. It was clearly an accident, so you're fine, go away, you're scot-free. But the general public's opinion probably wouldn't change, and we'd say, oh, how much did you pay off the guard? What did you do to the guard in order to get out of this? So the fact that there is that kind of obstacle, even though it's shitty and you see how bad it is from his perspective, I can see that as a mechanic that would actually be fun. I mean, if we take it in a different sense, right? The whole idea of a whole city basically exposing you and berating you, that could be something for a stealth game, right? Where you have to sneak around and try to be suspicious. All the mechanics that I'm currently seeing, they're definitely being presented in a very realistic light, given how this is supposed to be the ultimate Full Dive experience. But I'm seeing a lot of mechanics that I do enjoy in normal video games just amplified here. And it would absolutely get annoying. The fact that a smoke bomb needs to be lit, you can't just throw it, right? You can't just hit X on your controller and throw a smoke bomb, you actually have to do it. But once you get aware of the mechanics, once you actually start seeing them for what they are, there is a fun factor here. I absolutely believe there is. It's kind of feels to me like if you were going to play a shooter, right, and one shot to the head, it was game over. Even though that would piss you off, I mean, how many of us play Dark Souls or Souls-like games where that kind of is how it functions? One hit and you're pretty much dead at the beginning, and even when you're actually powerful, a boss can 2 or 3 shot you. So I like how they've actually changed my opinion of the first 3 episodes being, why the hell would you play this? Absolutely not. It's torture porn. But after last week with the manual and seeing more of the mechanics here, and the fact that not as much craziness, horrible, monstrosity bullshit is happening, it sucks. But there is an addictive factor that I see a lot of the mechanics that many of us, myself included, enjoy playing. As an example, I'm currently playing the new Pokemon Snap, right? That's not a realistic game. It's an on-rails photo simulator. The most realistic aspect is how the general animals, the Pokemon in the game, react to environment and changes. But realistically, if I'm going in a volcano and a giant fire moth looking creature is spitting fireballs at me, I'm probably gonna die. But Pokemon Snap, you can't die, right? You just play the level over. So clearly, there is a argument to be made how much realism is fun. But I honestly see the appeal here. I understand how the game died, don't get me wrong. But I'm starting to see the appeal of why it could be beaten or want to be beaten. And that's what makes me appreciate it. I know this show will not be for everyone. I'm seeing some people fall off from it. For me personally, it still remains just as entertaining. I love the fight scene between a drunken old man and this guy who's just trying to borrow money, and getting that moment where you're like, oh man, am I going to have another Martin situation? And Riona's cheering him on. To then, oh my god, we're getting this dramatic scene, we're getting the death scene where they have the blue lighting and the lines making it look, no, he's a drunken bastard, he's passed out. Or honestly, the best joke of the episode, ignoring the whole whipping situation, is the whole maid cafe item shop. The fact that, okay, he's getting charged extra because he's still a wanted criminal. But you also have to pay to talk with me, otherwise my big boy over here is going to crack your skull open like a little egg. Because you essentially went to a maid cafe and paid to speak to the woman. He should have just went with the normal old shopkeeper. He probably hasn't even been paying attention. His eyesight's probably bad or something. You could have had probably 5 smoke bombs, and instead you have 1 smoke bomb left. Maybe he'll be able to pick it up given the fact that the crazy bitch comes in to save the day because you can't have Pee Pants McGee here. That's absolutely for me only. So maybe he'll be able to get that back, but honestly, I don't know. This show is very, very fun. It started off with the first 3 episodes being something that I enjoyed watching for the, how the hell are you even going back to this? But I kind of see why. And then the way he got roped back in, honestly, I'm just like, at this point, strap me in, make me a beta tester. I don't even care if I get trapped in there for a month. I want to see what this game has to offer. And if it really does become that bad, well, I guess just kind of wait it out sort of a thing, right? There is an appeal to it, and I like how it definitely has me changing my opinions on what I enjoy about the show at first for the comedy, and now actually kind of being intrigued by how the game was made. Completely understand why it fell off, but I can also see why maybe some people, just stick around and just kind of get drunk in the game, because when they get out of there, right, they're not going to be drunk in the real world, but you get that sensation in the game, right? There's a lot of interesting things happening, and it'll be interesting, because given what we saw at the end of the episode, it basically says to me that he has someone who will always be there in case something really, really goes south. And seemingly he has sort of an ally with the city guard, but the issue is you can't just call up the city guard on your cell phone if something's happening. You have to make it to him in order for him to protect you, and most likely that's not even going to happen, right? It was definitely a very entertaining episode with some humorous moments, but yeah, I mean, the mechanics are actually getting me, which I never would have said if you would have said, oh yeah, by episode 4 or 5 you're going to be saying that. If we're at episodes 1, 2, or 3, I would have said you're shitting me. But yeah, they actually have me right now, and I'm really enjoying this ride, and I hope it just continues to be just as entertaining and twisting and turning what I'm expecting. I don't even expect we'll leave the village by the time season 1 wraps up, but I'm perfectly content with that, and hopefully seeing Hiro overcome some of his personal struggles in the real world, right? Let me know your thoughts, feelings down below, your favorite moment, and where do you think it's going to go with next week, given the cliffhanger and kind of the whole idea that you have someone who's helping you, but she wants you to suffer in order for that help, so it's not really help if you think about it, right? If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.